What if I told you that the biggest reason your life feels heavy right now has nothing to do with your goals, your talent, or your opportunities, and everything to do with the people you keep allowing access to your mind, your energy, and your decisions? Most people don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they are surrounded by the wrong influence for too long. And the most dangerous part is it never feels dangerous in the beginning. It feels normal. It feels familiar. It feels like just how people are. But slowly, without you noticing, your standards start to lower. Your focus starts to break. Your confidence starts to weaken. Not because you changed, but because what you are exposed to every day is shaping you more than you realize. And here is the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. You don't need enemies to destroy your progress. You just need the wrong people who stay close long enough. People who doubt you quietly. People who drain you slowly. People who keep you emotionally busy but mentally stuck. People who never tell you to give up, but somehow make you feel like staying the same is safer than growing. And the worst part? You probably won't notice it until you try to move forward and suddenly feel resistance in your own life. That's why this message is not just about motivation. It's about awareness. Because once you see what is really influencing your life, you can never unsee it again. And once you can't unsee it, you can never stay the same again. So before you dismiss this, before you scroll away thinking you already know this, understand this video is not here to comfort you. It is here to wake you up. Most people have been taught that if something bothers you, you should speak up. If someone disrespects you, you should confront them. If a relationship isn't working, you should sit down, explain everything, and get closure. That sounds mature on the surface. It sounds emotionally intelligent. But in reality, it often keeps you stuck in cycles that drain you. Because not every situation deserves your words. There is a level of power that only reveals itself when you realize that silence is not weakness. It is control. It is discipline. It is the ability to see clearly without feeling the need to react immediately. And the moment you understand this, your entire approach to people begins to change. You start noticing how much energy you've been wasting trying to explain yourself to people who were never trying to understand you in the first place. You start recognizing that some conversations don't lead to resolution, they lead to repetition, the same patterns, the same excuses, the same outcomes. So the question becomes, why do we feel the need to announce our departure? Part of it is emotional conditioning. We want to be seen as fair. We want to feel like we gave the other person a chance. We want to believe that if we just say it the right way, they will finally understand. But that belief is built on the assumption that they don't understand yet, and that's where most people get it wrong. People often understand exactly what they're doing. They understand how they speak to you. They understand how they treat your time, your energy, your boundaries. The issue is not awareness. The issue is priority. You are simply not high enough on their list for them to change. And once you accept that truth, something inside you shifts. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You realize that explaining yourself to the wrong people is not communication. It's self-neglect. Because every time you over-explain your boundaries, you're asking for permission to be respected. And respect that has to be negotiated is not real respect. It's temporary compliance. This is why silent removal is so powerful. It doesn't argue. It doesn't convince. It doesn't chase understanding. It simply acts. You begin to step back. Not dramatically. Not aggressively. Just intentionally. You stop responding with the same urgency. You stop making yourself available in situations where you feel undervalued. You stop investing in conversations that leave you feeling exhausted instead of understood. And at first, it feels uncomfortable. Because you've been trained to associate distance with guilt. You've been taught that pulling back is somehow rude or selfish. But what you're really doing is correcting an imbalance that should have never existed in the first place. You're not punishing anyone. You're protecting yourself. And protection does not require permission. There's also something deeper happening here. Something psychological. When you constantly explain yourself, you keep the connection alive. Even if it's a negative connection, it's still engagement. It gives the other person access to your thoughts, your emotions, your attention, and as long as they have that, they still occupy space in your life. But silence removes that access. Silence creates distance, and distance creates clarity, not just for them, but for you. You begin to see things without emotional interference. You start recognizing patterns you once ignored. You understand your own value in a way that no conversation could have taught you. Because value is not something you declare. It's something you demonstrate through your standards. And standards are not enforced through words. They are enforced through decisions. The decision to walk away from what no longer aligns. The decision to stop entertaining what disrespects you. The decision to choose peace over unnecessary explanation. Now, this doesn't mean you avoid every difficult conversation. There are moments in life where communication is necessary, where clarity matters, where relationships deserve effort. But you have to learn to distinguish between what can be resolved and what simply needs to be released. Not everything can be fixed, and not everyone will grow with you. And not every door needs a closing speech. Some doors are meant to close quietly. And here's the part most people don't expect. When you stop explaining yourself, people will start revealing themselves. Some will question your distance. Not because they value you, but because they miss your availability. Some will try to pull you back into old patterns, not because they've changed, but because they're uncomfortable with your change. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can go back to who you were, or you can remain aligned with who you're becoming. Because growth is not just about what you add to your life. It's also about what you remove without hesitation. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You no longer feel the urge to respond to everything. You no longer feel obligated to maintain every connection. You become more selective, more intentional, more aware. You start living with a quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that doesn't chase validation. The kind that understands that not every reaction deserves your energy. And that is where real power lies, not in what you say, but in what you choose not to engage with. So the next time you feel the urge to explain your distance, to justify your boundaries, to announce your exit, pause. Ask yourself one simple question. Is this conversation going to change anything, or just delay the decision I already know I need to make? And if you already know the answer, then act accordingly. Step back. Say less, do more. Because in the end, the strongest message you will ever send is the one you don't say at all. If you look closely at your life, you'll start to notice a pattern that most people ignore. It's not just what happens to you that shapes your future. It's who you allow around you while it's happening. Your environment is not neutral. It is constantly influencing you, quietly, consistently, and often without your awareness. The people you spend time with are not just part of your life. They are shaping your thinking, your standards, your expectations, and ultimately, your direction. And the danger is, this influence doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel like something is being taken from you. It feels normal, familiar, comfortable. That's exactly why it's so powerful. Because energy doesn't always arrive as conflict. Sometimes it arrives as subtle negativity. A comment that plants doubt. A reaction that minimizes your ambition. A tone that makes you second-guess yourself. Over time, these small moments accumulate, and before you realize it, your mindset begins to shift. You start playing smaller, thinking safer, questioning things you once felt certain about. Not because you lack ability, but because you've been surrounded by people who lack belief. This is why protecting your energy is not a luxury. It's a responsibility. You cannot build a focused, disciplined, and forward-moving life while constantly absorbing distractions, complaints, and emotional instability from others.